Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I used to think parent-teacher meetings were like oil changes, inconvenient, mostly routine, and if you skipped one you'd feel guilty until the next. The email from Ms. Decker looked like every other note she'd ever sent, polite, flexible, a smile embedded in the periods. "Could you come by tomorrow at 3:15? I'd love to talk about one of Mikey's drawings. It's probably nothing urgent, but I'd prefer in person." Probably nothing urgent is a phrase that should come with a warning label. I read it at my desk between back-to-back calls, swiped to star it, and texted Rachel that I'd swing by. She thumbs-upped me, then sent a second bubble, "I've got yoga at 5. Can you handle dinner?" I typed sure and stared at the word long enough for it to stop looking like English. At 3:10 the next afternoon, I was in the school office signing a form that joked about not stealing their pens. The receptionist buzzed me in with the practiced friendliness of someone who has seen every version of a parent-shaped emergency and knows most of them are fixable. Ms. Decker's classroom smelled like crayons and disinfectant and that faint, sweet scent of kids who've been outside at recess pretending they aren't freezing. "Hi, Mr. Albright," she said, and shook my hand like we were colleagues. She's maybe 30. With a ponytail and the kind of patience you either inherit or earn from standing in a room with 27 7-year-olds all narrating their own lives. "Thanks for coming." "Of course," I said. "Everything okay with Mikey?" "He's a delight," she said. "Teachers call your kid a delight the way mechanics say your car has good bones. It means there's something to fix. He's bright, kind, on track. This is more about a drawing he made during free choice time." She sat at the horseshoe table and slid a sheet of paper from a folder. It was standard kid art, bold colors, figures that looked like versions of people more than people themselves. But the longer I looked, the less cute it got. On the left, a bed. On the bed, a woman with yellow hair like Rachel's, and a man with brown hair and a square jaw. They were under a blanket, faces turned toward each other, smiling too big in the way kids draw smiles when they want you to know this is a happy moment. On the right, another person, smaller, with a frown and a tear, standing by a door. At the top, in pencil that had been erased and drawn over, "Mom plus Uncle?" A line crossed through Uncle and underneath, heavier, "Other guy." On the man's stick figure arm, in careful black, a little snake looped. "Okay," I said, because language gets stupid when your brain is deciding whether to understand something. "Okay. I wouldn't normally bring a drawing to you unless a child had words to go with it," she said gently. But Mikey volunteered a lot of detail. "What did he say?" I asked, and immediately wished I hadn't, the way you do when you open a door and realize you're barefoot and the ground is made of glass. "He said he drew his mom and a friend who comes over when Daddy is working late," she said. "He said they watch movies in Mommy's bed and he's not allowed to come in, but once he did and Mommy told him to go back to his room. And the friend had a snake on his arm and that was silly." She paused, measuring my face. "Kids get things wrong all the time, Mr. Albright. They misinterpret, they fantasize. I know that." But he described the room. "He drew the quilt. He drew the nightstand with your red alarm clock. He said the friend wears a hat when he comes over and takes it off by the door. Our nightstand is scarred oak from a yard sale 10 years ago. My alarm clock is an ugly brick of red numbers, a gift from a company Christmas party white elephant that has outlived jobs and phones. Our bed quilt is yellow with little blue flowers because Rachel said it looked like summer in a farmhouse." I heard myself say, "We don't have an uncle named anything," and knew it was the wrong sentence. "I'm not here to accuse anyone of anything," she said quickly. "I just have an obligation to share when a child brings up something that could indicate confusion or distress. I also wanted you to see this before parent-teacher night next week. We can be careful about what's displayed." "Thank you," I said. My throat felt like it had sand in it. "Has he said this to anyone else?" "I don't think so," she said. "He talks about both of you with so much love. He's proud of you. He said his dad can fix anything and his mom knows where the good cereal is hidden." "Top shelf behind the flower," I said, reflexively. She smiled a teacher's smile. I stared at the little snake on the little stick figure arm and thought of the men I know with tattoos. 2 dads from the soccer team have sleeves. The guy at the hardware store has a bear on his forearm. Our neighbor, Drew, has an anchor. A snake. I pictured a curling black line on a real arm, disappearing under a cuff. I hated that my brain did that. Would you like me to call Rachel? Ms. Decker asked. We can meet together. Or separately. Whatever makes you most comfortable. Let me talk to her, I said. And, I swallowed. Could I take a picture of this? I won't share it. I don't trust my memory right now. She hesitated the right amount of time and then nodded. Yes, she said. But please don't show it to Mikey as a test. We don't want him to feel interrogated. I won't, I said. I took out my phone and snapped 2 photos, my hands unsteady. The little snake stared back at me from the screen like a dare. When I got to the car, I put my forehead on the steering wheel and stayed like that for 10 seconds. Then I texted Rachel, "School wants to meet about Mikey's drawing. I saw it. We need to talk tonight. Please be home." She responded immediately, "Of course. Everything okay?" Then, "What drawing?" "We'll talk at home," I typed. Then stared at the typing dots that didn't arrive. At 5, Rachel came in with a mat and a thermos and the fresh, slightly salty smell of a room where 20 people have been trying to breathe together. She kissed my cheek, set the thermos on the counter, and said, "What's up?" "Sit," I said. I didn't mean it as a command, but it sounded like one, and she raised an eyebrow and sat anyway. The light outside had gone that buttery late winter color that makes our kitchen look kinder than it is. I opened my phone, pulled up the picture, and put it face down on the table for a second like an old-fashioned bomb I wasn't sure how to handle. "Ms. Decker called me in," I said. "Mikey drew something at school." "Did he draw us as superheroes again?" she said, a smile already started. "He had you as a robot last week with spatulas for hands." "He drew you," I said. "And a man. In our bed." I turned the phone over. She leaned forward, pupils shrinking to take in all of it. She looked, really looked, the way you look when you're trying to tell the difference between a snake and a stick. Her face didn't do any of the things I had prepared for. It didn't flush with indignation or crumple with guilt. It changed by degrees, a time lapse of denial, calculation, sorrow. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "Tom," she said. "Don't say it's nothing," I said. "Don't say he's imaginative. He is, but he's also observant. He drew the quilt. He drew my stupid red alarm clock. He drew a snake tattoo." She closed her eyes and put her hand flat on the table, palm down, like she was making a vow to the wood. "I'm sorry," she said, and the apology sat there, ugly and honest. "How long?" I asked. The words felt like the beginning of a terrible story I already knew the ending to. "Since September," she said. It wasn't supposed to be anything. It was a mistake. I ended it last month." She took a breath like a person coming up from a dive. "His name is Aaron. He's—" I held up a hand and she stopped. I wasn't ready for nouns. I wasn't ready for the shape of another person in my house, in my bed. I looked past her into the living room, the couch with a dent where I sit, the Lego bin, the framed photo of us at the state fair with Mikey on my shoulders like a flag. I felt a profound urge to move every object 1 inch to the left, like that would change the story. "How many times in this house?" I asked, and hated the man asking. Her mouth trembled. "Twice," she said. "Mostly when you were on call and She stopped, ashamed. "I am so sorry, Tom. I don't have an excuse. I can tell you how lonely I felt, how your hours got longer, how I didn't ask for what I needed and then punished you for not guessing. None of that makes this less wrong." "Did Mikey see?" I asked, my voice suddenly too big in the room. "He knocked once," she said. "We were watching a movie. We were on top of the covers. He came in and I panicked and told him to go back to bed. I told Aaron to wait. He left. I told Mikey I was talking to a friend." She swallowed. I didn't think he would draw it." "He's 7, I said. "He draws his life." The front door opened then, and Mikey came in from the neighbors, cheeks bright, hair sticking up like a dandelion. "Dad?" he shouted, clattering his backpack to the floor. "Mrs. Carter let me feed their fish. They have a treasure chest that opens and closes like this." He made a little chomp with his hands, thrilled. He noticed the quiet. "Are you mad?" he asked, instantly shrinking himself, the way kids do when they sense an adult weather change. "No, buddy," I said, and forced my face to remember what a smile looked like. "Not mad at you. Dinner in 10? Tacos?" he asked, hopeful. "Tacos," I said. We made dinner like actors in a play we'd rehearsed 1,000 times. Rachel grated cheese. I chopped lettuce. Mikey set forks with the confidence of a 7-year-old who has yet to be betrayed by anything more complicated than a wobbly ice cream cone. I kept catching myself staring at his hands, his hair, his eyelashes, inventorying his innocence like it could be insured. After, we played Uno because the rule at our house is you can't go to bed angry without at least trying to lose to your kid at a card game. Mikey won twice, fair and square, and crowed about it like a small king. We brushed teeth, read Dragons Love Tacos because irony is wasted on children, and tucked him in. I kissed his head and said, "I love you," and he said, "I know," like Han Solo, and I had to laugh into my sleeve. In the kitchen, Rachel leaned on the counter and looked smaller than she ever has. "What do we do?" she asked. "Not a dare. A plea." "We take the batteries out of tonight," I said, feeling around for a tone I could live with. "No fighting. Tomorrow morning, we call Ms. Decker and ask her not to display the drawing. We ask for the school counselor. We tell your parents before they hear it from anyone else. We make a counseling appointment, us, and a family session for Mikey. You sleep in the guest room for now. You give me your phone and your passcode tonight. There's no version of this where I go hunting for clues in the dark. We turn on the lights." She nodded, not relieved, but steadied by something that felt like a plan. "Okay," she said. "I'll call my mom. I'll call my dad." "Both," I said. Her parents came the next afternoon. Linda cried within 30 seconds of sitting down, the efficient sobs of a woman who has practiced grief and is good at it. She took Rachel's hand and said, "People make mistakes, like a life raft," and I wanted to hate her for it until I realized she was throwing it at her daughter, not at me. Paul, Rachel's dad, sat with his jaw clenched and his eyes on the drawing, which Ms. Decker had, at my request, allowed me to bring home to discuss as a family. He looked at the little snake like it was a word he couldn't pronounce without swearing. "Rachel," he said, and then didn't say anything else for a full minute. When he finally found words, they were simple. "You did this. You fix it. You apologize to your husband every day. You apologize to your son without making him responsible for how you feel." He turned to me, the way good men do. "Tom, I am sorry." "Thank you," I said. I didn't have room in my mouth for anything else. Mikey came in from the yard with a worm cup tenderly in his hands because he is exactly the kind of kid who would. He stopped short at the sight of his grandparents. "Nana!" he yelled, and then saw the drawing on the table and looked at me with the guilty face of a child who hasn't learned which truths are dynamite. "Ms. Decker showed you," he said. I pulled out a chair and patted it. "Come sit, bud," I said. "We're not in trouble. We want to talk about your art." He climbed up and swung his legs. "It's Mom and her friend," he said, as if we might not have recognized figures we've lived as for a decade. "He has a snake," he added, proud of the detail. "Do you know his name?" I asked, careful. "Or is he just Mom's friend?" "Sometimes he wears a hat," Mikey said. "He smells like the gum Uncle Paul has but spicier." "Do you like him?" Rachel asked, and immediately looked at me like she'd asked the wrong question. Mikey shrugged. "He was nice," he said. "He told me my dinosaur was cool." "Okay," I said, because my head felt like an overloaded circuit. "Thanks for telling us. You can always tell us anything. You're not in trouble." He studied my face, suspicious, then relaxed and asked if he could have a popsicle because popsicles are the currency of emotional regulation when you're 7. Rachel got one from the freezer like a woman performing a familiar sacrament and handed it to him with hands that shook. That night, After Mikey was asleep and Rachel's parents had gone home with Linda promising to bring over a casserole and Paul promising to help me fix the wobbly stair rail, Rachel handed me her phone. I scrolled with the dead calm of a man reading a report about a storm that has already passed. The messages with Aaron began with a string of innocent logistics from a parents' committee and grew a vine of flirtations around them. I didn't read every line. I looked at dates. I asked for screenshots of the breakup. I saw the message from a month ago, "I can't do this. I love my family. Don't contact me again." His reply was a wounded performance. Then a few more attempts. Then silence. I blocked the number and put the phone face down. "Thank you," she said. It sounded wrong, like I'd taken something from her as a favor. I didn't correct her. The words were for her, mine would come in the morning when I had grammar again. We saw the school counselor on Tuesday. Mikey got to build with kinetic sand and draw more pictures that did not feature beds or snakes or tears. He drew a volcano and a dinosaur in our house with too many windows. The counselor, Ms. Alvarez, explained to us, in the neutral, professional tone of a person who has shepherded many families through worse, that kids often observe without understanding. "What matters is you don't let him carry the weight of adult choices," she said. "Answer simply when he asks, and otherwise, let him be 7. We saw a marriage counselor the next day. Drive. Kent had the kind of office that looks like a haircut, tasteful, a little expensive, forgettable in all the ways you want the place you try and to be. He asked for facts first, then for feelings, then for rules. He told Rachel to write me a timeline, give it once, and never move the goalposts about what's in it. He told me that checking phones is harm reduction, not a hobby. He told us the stupid, obvious things I needed someone else to say: no contact, full transparency, separate rooms until I say otherwise, regular dinners as a family that do not turn into trials. Trust isn't a switch, he said. It's a practice. You will hate the repetition of it until the day you notice it's holding you up. At home, I made a list because lists are how I keep from drowning. Tell Ms. Decker thank you. Keep drawing out of classroom display. Parent note to teacher group: if rumor spreads, we're working with school, please respect privacy. Rachel's timeline by Friday. Drive. Kent Thursdays at 4. Mikey soccer Saturday, bring snacks. Fix stair rail with Paul Sunday. The world became very small in a good way. It was making lunches and forwarding emails and buying a new lock for the side door because the old one stuck. It was Rachel moving into the guest room with her stack of novels and her blue lamp. It was me setting my phone on the counter face up because hypocrisy is ugly and kids see it. It was answering Mikey's questions when they came, simply. Is Mom in trouble? She made a mistake. We're helping as a family. Is the friend coming back? No. Are we still going to see the dinosaurs at the museum? Yes. He accepted the economy of those answers with the relief of a child who isn't interested in adult plot lines. He wanted to know if he could bring his notebook to sketch the T-Rex. He wanted to know if he could have 2 popsicles because the red ones are smaller. He wanted to know if I thought his volcano looked more like Hawaii or the one in his book, which featured a lot of adjectives for lava. On a Saturday afternoon 2 weeks later, Rachel's dad came with his toolbox and we fixed the stair rail. We didn't talk about Aaron. We talked about screws and wood and how houses tell you what they need if you stand still long enough to listen. When we finished, he put a hand on the rail and leaned on it like a judge testing a witness. That'll hold, he said. Then he looked at me. You're a good man, he said, and it wasn't a compliment. It was a duty he was assigning me, the way men hand each other the burden of being decent. I nodded, because nodding is what I could manage. We told the extended family the version of the story they needed to maintain their relationships without weaponizing them. Rachel's mother brought soup and asked if I needed help with laundry and told me she loved me, which made me cry in a stupid way over a basket of socks. My own mother, who has an instinct for when to say less, sent a card that said only, "I'm here. Call when you want." Our neighbor, Drew, who does, in fact, have a snake tattoo curling up his forearm, an entirely different snake than the one in the drawing, stopped by to ask if I wanted his old drill, and I almost laughed at the universe for staging gags in my driveway. There are nights I lie awake in the guest room and hate. I hate the man with the snake. I hate my own hours, my own absences. I hate the way a kid's drawing became the scalpel that cut her life open and also saved it by forcing the infection out where we could see it. On those nights, I get up quietly, stand in the kitchen, and look at the refrigerator door where Mikey's volcano is magneted next to a spelling test with a crooked star. I make a cup of tea because whiskey makes me dramatic and tea makes me domestic. I breathe until my hands stop wanting to break things. Last Sunday, Mikey brought home a new drawing from art class. 3 figures, one tall, one medium, one small. All 3 are holding hands. Above them, in the blunt, certain handwriting of a 7-year-old, it says, "Family at the museum." The T-Rex in the background has too many teeth, and the sky is purple, and the people have 5 fingers on one hand and 3 on the other because sometimes accuracy is not the point. I put it on the fridge. I sent a photo of it to Ms. Decker with a thank you she earned twice and never asked for. "Do you think the T-Rex would eat us?" Mikey asked at dinner, splayed across his chair in complete disregard for structural engineering. "Only if we taste like chicken nuggets," I said. He considered this gravely. "We do," he decided. Rachel laughed, a small, careful sound, and then stopped herself like she had trespassed. "It's okay to laugh," I said, and surprised myself by meaning it. "We're not fixed. We're not broken in the clean way either. We are a house with a repaired rail and a list on the fridge and a kid who draws what he sees and a marriage trying to teach itself new words. Drive. Kent says there will be a day when I will forget to count the minutes between apologies, a day when the practice of trust will be like brushing my teeth. I just do it, and if I skip, I notice. I want to believe him. Some days I do. There's a PTA art night next month. Parents will walk around with paper cups of lemonade and pointed construction paper like it's fragile museum glass. I'll stand beside Mikey while he explains his volcano technique to anyone who will listen. I'll shake hands. I'll avoid the tattoo on Drew's arm because the human brain is a cheap magician. I'll thank Ms. Decker again, and she'll wave me off, and I'll insist, and Rachel will smile in that tired, hopeful way of a woman who has decided to stay and do the work. If you asked me what I've learned from a drawing, I would give you a list, not because lists fix anything, but because they make the world hold still long enough to see it. Kids tell the truth in crayon first. Believe them without punishing them for knowing. Shame loves microphones, repair prefers kitchens. I'm sorry is a down payment, not the deed. Being a father means making the house boring and safe even when your heart is on fire. Don't let a small paper ruin you, let it redirect you. Fix the rail. Label the spare key. Keep the popsicles stocked. Tonight, after we brushed teeth, Mikey asked if he could sleep with the new flashlight because the old one is too blinky. I said yes. He clicked it on and off 3 times to check that the world still obeyed him. In the hallway, Rachel and I stood for a second in the soft cone of light leaking under his door. She reached for my hand, then stopped, then tried again. I let her take it for a minute, not because I was ready to put everything back, but because the minute existed and I could meet it there. Downstairs, I moved the drawing of the volcano a little to the left to make room for the museum picture. The magnet clicked. The house made its small, familiar noises, the dishwasher thunk, the heat sighed, the world kept turning. I turned off the kitchen light and left the hallway one on, a bright little promise for the kid who might need it. For the rest of us, too. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.